Hi, this is Dr. Ben Morrill. Welcome to episode 104 of Reptile Genetics Weekly. Glad to have you here. We get to talk about a cool subject, or kind of mixing of subjects today that's close to my heart. I, of course, did lots in school, and then also done, breeding. And today we get to talk to a middle school teacher that integrates genetics and biology topics that have to do with reptiles in her classroom. So very, very cool to have Jamie here from Professor's Pythons. So as far, like we said, we're starting to record these ahead of time. So as far as updates, if you go in the description, Kayla will have updated you the day of when this goes live, which will be next week for us. So I can't give you the update right now, and we'll just kind of, like I said last time, we might kind of change this opening part since we're now doing more of this pre-recording. So, but anyway, description, check there. That'll give you the update on when sample results are coming out for everything. But yeah, that's all I got. Kayla, how are you doing?
Hey Ben, I'm doing great. All potatoes in the shot. Look at her right there. I like she like holds out her little leggy sometimes to also disregard like the coffee can and the light dome box there on top of the thing. I have to use those to keep potato from jumping on top of on top of the tank. And she knows she doesn't belong there. All I have to do is look at her and be like, "Hey, get down." She'll get down. But I have to provide barriers. So if you ever see weird stuff behind me, that's probably why. But yeah, doing great. Really excited about our topic today. So let's go ahead and knock out our business stuff. So of course, we're still doing our live stream Thursdays where we do live test results, Q&A, and we just kind of sit and talk with you guys. We can, like if you have questions about a specific mutation or, specific tests, or just things you've heard in the reptile hobby, we're happy to answer them to the best of our abilities. And it's generally a really good time. So if you're available during that, grab some lunch and join us. But yeah, so we have that.
I would say also let us know in the comments here if you'd like us to put up a post before. So I know not all people can watch it when it's live during the day. So let us know if you want us to put a post up like the day before, or maybe Thursday morning, and let people be able to ask questions that aren't going to be able to be on the live. I guess we probably want to do it the day before. But yeah, let us know if you think that's a good idea. If you want to be able to have questions, and then even if you can't watch it live, you can watch it later, and we'll try to hit all the questions that we can. Let us know what you think.
Yeah. Oh, that's smart. Yeah, I can definitely post something Wednesday nights. That way, if people have questions for it, then we can answer those on stream later or in the comments even. But yeah, definitely. Just let us know in the comments, y'all. Yeah. As far as sheds wanted, specifically in the realm of ball pythons, they haven't changed since last week. But we have added redhead and tri-stripe to the group. So if you have these or know somebody who does, we can definitely use more to help us fill out our complexes and extra mutations that we're hunting for. And as always, for basically if it's a species or mutation we don't currently test for, we can use sheds for it because that's how we develop those. So all we need is just a small patch of dry shed with your animal's info, any known morphs, possible morphs, lineage info, and who it was produced by. Because sometimes we'll have situations where we actually do need that information. For those of you who have been sending sheds, we are really, really grateful. You guys make what we do possible.
Yes, and I just went to the post office here in Virginia and had another several envelopes from people, and I could tell even just looking on the outside there, say research sheds, or so I think one of them is Super Lucifer, like people letting us know what they sent in. So thank you so much.
Hey, Jamie.
Hey, thank you guys for having me on again.
Of course.
Glad to have you here.
Definitely. And who do you have with you right now?
Oh, this is Cleo. She's my OG ball python.
Hi, Cleo.
I had her, the first one, and I still have her. But yeah,
that's wonderful.
The basic spider.
Yes, she's very pretty. Let's put Ben there. So when so about a year ago, I think we did a shed donor shout out because Jamie was one of the people who sent us sheds for research. And as soon as I like read a blurb about what she does, teaching middle school genetics and biology, use it with the assistance of ball pythons, I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And I mean, I come from an education background. Like I have my K-12 music education license here in Virginia. I don't use it because life changed, but I still like love. I mean, I have such a sweet spot for teachers and what they do. And so people who do reptile education or education with reptiles are like both of my worlds crossing together. It's amazing. I love it. And so I knew from then, I was like, we need to have Jamie on at some point. So yeah, Jamie, do you want to tell us about like how'd you get into reptiles? Yeah, in general.
So growing up, my house was always filled with different animals, and learning about them. I was watching Jeff Corwin and Steve Irwin.
Oh yeah.
And all those guys and being like, that's what I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, out in the field. And my family's all very much a science background. They're all in lab technician kind of area. And my brother is the first one that got some ball pythons that had some hets, kind of way before this whole industry started going. He was like, I remember back in the day when a bell was $1,300, or, you know, when they were super inexpensive like they are now.
Yeah.
That there wasn't this many morphs out and about. And I saw it. And then once I started teaching, I wanted to have a classroom pet. And I'm all about whatever's in the classroom needs to be used for education. And so I didn't want to just get a guinea pig or a hamster like your typical. Sorry, she's all over right now.
That's okay.
Like your typical classroom, those are the cute animals. I also wanted to get an animal that that maybe has misconceptions, and that a lot of our society kind of does not view as like cute and fuzzy and you know, that stereotype. And so I could use it as a teaching tool for gaining respect for animals that
are misunderstood.
Yeah, that are misunderstood. And then I with that started, I was like, oh, my brother's doing different morphs. I wonder what morphs there are out there. Because in 6th grade, you learn basic genetics.
Right.
And so I was like, ooh, so then if I have admin who's ever like, why do you have a snake in your classroom? Oh, it's for genetics. It's genetics. Yeah. That's where it started.
Like here, as well as standards of learning right here.
As well as, you know, judging a book by its cover. We talk about that, you know, we have all these ideas about snakes and how the media and a lot of cultures kind of misrepresent them.
Yes.
And how, you know, that relates to other things in life. And so that's what started me on my journey with Cleo here. At the point in time, I just knew how to take care of a ball python. I didn't know about spidered ball pythons and the possibilities, the other situations. Her wobble isn't that bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it looks like she's doing great.
Solid. Yeah.
Yeah. But she has it when she feeds.
Fair enough.
You know, but we talk about that. We talk about why it happens and you know, that she still has a very fulfilling life and all that stuff. So that's what started my journey. And so then I started teaching at this charter school here. And a lot of schools have like chicken eggs in their classroom and they hatch them, or duck eggs. And I was like, why not do it with ball pythons?
Yeah.
Why not snakes?
Yeah.
And then with the genetics and with my 6th graders, I teach them a very basic Punnett square. And we talk about recessive, codominant, and dominant traits. We also talk about how the codoms affect pattern as well as color and which ones do that. You can kind of see behind my wall here a couple of our individual traits there.
Yeah, look at that.
Um,
Awesome.
Cool.
Codom or dominant. Oh, she's wrapping around the chair. There we go.
As they do.
So we talk about that. And then the students then get to pick out a male and a female of breeding size. Of course, I usually guide them with who they're going to pair, so it's a little bit easier for them to try to predict what the baby's going to look like. We talk about how ball pythons can choose not to lay eggs
right
for an extended period of time, and why might that happen. And then a lot of the times I use them in the classroom too for other things. So I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade science. And we cover everything from genetics to natural selection to adaptation. And so a lot of times I'll use them in the classroom and show what a normal ball python looks like and why would that survive in an environment versus the blue-eyed leucistic.
Yeah.
My favorite one, which is always hilarious, is they talk about blue-eyed leucistics. They're like, oh, that could survive in the snow. And I go,
very slowly.
Let's approach that question again. Remember what's their blood? They're cold-blooded, right? So
Yeah.
they need heat sources. And they're like, oh yeah, so it wouldn't survive.
It's like unless they quickly developed adaptations for living in the colds, you know, maybe you could like, aren't there like frog species that are like have like antifreeze blood and that sort of thing? Granted, unless a ball, that would be a crazy mutation for a ball python to get. So
and then the crocodiles too go into a dormant kind of sleepy state.
Yeah, too, I think so. Yeah. Oh, that's
it would
right.
be a very strange mutation, like you said, if a ball python developed that.
Yeah, like in a West African species, right there at the equator. Yeah.
Yep. But we also talk too about how traits take time, and with breeding, that of course is spread up. So I use them all over my classroom for different things. Some of my favorite moments is where students start the beginning of my year being afraid of snakes.
Yes.
And they end the year with either a love or a respect for them. And
that's
you
amazing.
See them holding them. And then even staff members. That's also another one that always makes me excited, is when adults grow.
Right.
That's Julius there. A lot of times I let him out because he's just chill. He'll explore everything. Same with Cleo.
I like his eyebrows.
Kids all sign a waiver too, just in case they do get bite. We talk about that. I allow them at the beginning of the year to ask questions. A lot of times they're always like, aren't you afraid they're going to get out and eat you? I'm always like, okay, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Okay, their head gets this big.
Yep.
Eating. They can't actually eat you. And
even if
they
try,
there's something wrong. Yeah.
Exactly.
So the kids help me take care of them by changing their waters. I allow them to come watch feedings if they want to.
Yeah.
Both frozen thawed. I usually try to do frozen thawed. The live ones, I'm a little hesitant about kids watching just because they can be a little graphic,
Of course.
So yeah. It's a lot of fun.
I'm sure. I mean, it's always easier to get a classroom more engaged when you have like a literal like animal there right up front. And I mean, ball pythons are amazing, so I get that. So that's awesome. So what was it like when so the kids are able to help pick out some of these pairings? Like what does it seem to really help them click like, oh, like here's like we have the statistics for getting this or this morph, but we ended up getting this instead. Like how does that like get conversations going with your students?
It really helps. It really helps them connect to it. We talk about statistics. They don't know about morph market calculator.
No.
Unless they discover it on their own. I did have one kid find it.
Smart kid.
Another thing, actually, the picture that you pulled up with the netting.
Yes.
So I have 3 snakes in terrariums,
Mhm.
and then the rest of them are in a rack in my room, as you can see behind me over here.
Mhm.
And that picture there, basically, we have a little enclosure in the corner, and every hour or so, we rotate a new snake into the enclosure to provide enrichment,
I
to
love
make
it.
the snake stretch. They have different things to smell. Of course, they smell the other snakes, which causes a
Mhm.
little bit of stress, but not necessarily negative.
Yeah.
Just give them, a healthier, more fulfilling life, than
Yes.
just being stuck in the tub the whole time. So
I love that.
I'm all with that.
Mhm.
I also have the criteria too, which my students always love, but then their parents are like, "What?" My students can have any of my babies that hatch in the classroom for free.
I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
My only criteria is that they have to set up the husbandry to a pretty high standard.
Good.
And I'd rather them be spending the money on that than spending the money on a snake.
Makes perfect
Um,
sense.
and so that's always my thing. Of course, they have to get their parent permission.
Of course.
A lot of them are like, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah.
And then we also talk about that if they ever were to need to rehome the snake, that they contact me again, and that I would take the snake off their hands and either give it a home or find a
Perfect.
home for it. So,
Perfect.
yeah.
Oh, that is amazing. Like that, I think that's the perfect way to go about it.
How many
And
kids have been able to do that? Take one
yeah,
home.
A lot of them want to.
I bet.
yeah,
Most of them don't. Just because, when you're in middle school as well as high school in general, you don't
Mhm.
have the time. And a lot of parents realize that the snake would become theirs.
Right.
I do have some kids that are staying in contact with me and have said, when I graduate high school, I'm going
Mhm.
to come back and get one if you're still around.
Cool.
And I'd be willing to still give it to them as long as they're putting
Yeah,
money into the husbandry.
that's
Because I would,
fantastic.
this is so much more of a animal education aspect for me,
Mhm.
and creating, better lives for the animals and more knowledgeable people,
Yes.
than making a profit or anything of that sort. Um,
Mhm.
so
Cool. Well, they're
yeah.
lucky to have a teacher that will integrate something like that. I would have loved that.
Yes. Same. Oh my gosh.
It's a lot of fun. They're always like, "Can we come in at lunch and hold the snakes? Can we hold them today?" And I'm like, "No, we just ate. They got to wait 2 days. Come in 2 days."
There you go. Yeah.
Then they come running in 2 days later. "All right, ready?"
Right. You said. You said.
Yeah. So a lot of my
Oh,
snakes get the socialization too, which is very awesome. Because
Mhm.
I know, I mean, just as one person, it can be a little hard to socialize them all.
Right.
Um,
So, how many do you have in the classroom right now?
in the classroom right now, I have around 20 something.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's
And my favorite
awesome.
is like, when students ask me and parents ask me how many you have, I just say too many to count.
There you
Um,
go. Yeah.
Good
yeah,
answer.
because most of them don't realize that this is snakes.
Right. Yeah.
Some
But
of them do.
yeah. So how did the conversation go with administration? Because you kind of touched on this before. And I imagine you have very supportive administration to allow snakes in general. Because I know some are like absolutely not, no, just on the merit of it being a snake. So how did that conversation happen?
Yeah. So the school that I'm currently at is a charter school, and they're very
Mhm.
big on fostering their staff members' loves and passions.
Aw,
And
oh, I
so
love that.
trying to build it, as well as, it's a really good enticing point to get new students to come here and people too. It's something that's different.
Yeah.
Um, and so they don't want to know how many I have in the classroom.
That's good.
Yeah.
And like I said, I have a contract that I have all
Mhm.
students sign,
Yeah.
before they can interact with the snakes.
Mhm.
That, basically states that, snakes are animals,
Mhm.
that I will teach you how to hold them, but they all have mouths. And if you make them angry and you handle them improperly, they can bite you.
Yeah.
And so that, I think, helped with the school feeling okay with it, that the
Of course.
liability is not there. But it also talks about things too that some of my students didn't expect to see in there, like no pretending to scare other people with the snakes, no
Good.
sticking random objects in the snake's enclosure. So, the contract's there to protect the snakes as well as the students and the school and myself all together.
Yeah.
So yeah, this picture here is a bunch of my students holding a bunch of the variety that I've had throughout my career, of snakes. I still have two of those. Two of them I've already given out to or sold. But yeah, so
That's
they seem to be
awesome.
okay with it.
Yeah. I
Cool.
think one of the points that you made in, like, as far as the contract goes, like don't try to scare people with the snakes, or like chasing people with the snakes.
Yeah.
I love that. I've had to tell grown adults not to do that at other workplaces. So yeah, no, I appreciate that. So
It's
but
so
yeah,
it's so funny that you have to explain that to people. Like
I know.
any of us that like snakes, you've had people come up to you like, I like snakes. They're like, oh, my uncle just killed one. Like that's just what people
Right?
say. It's so weird.
Yeah.
And like you also have to point out, okay, if you were this snake, would you like to be getting run down the hall, after someone and being
Yeah.
squeezed and let go? Like, you really do have to explain it to people. They're not used to thinking of reptiles as like being living things that are worth respect. So
Yes.
I love that you're spreading that to more people.
Yeah.
Well, I talk to them about it too. I go, imagine yourself. Do you realize how much bigger you are compared to that snake, and
Yeah.
how weird you are compared to that snake?
Mhm.
You don't look like it. You're tall. You're huge. The snake is probably more afraid of you than you are of it.
And we have these
And
big,
so,
scary predator eyes that are like always looking at them.
and big,
That's
huge heat ball of
yeah.
heat coming towards you. And even a lot of people too are like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't like snakes. And I go, it's okay. It's fine. I don't expect everyone to like them. But I do expect you to respect them.
Yeah.
That's and my current principal is afraid of snakes. And so I asked her, I said, hey, do you want me to help you move past your fear? Let's try to,
Mhm.
like, do you want me to help you? Because I will if you want. And ball pythons are great for that.
Oh yeah, they're amazing
They're
for that.
like they're super docile little babies. I mean, for the most
Yeah.
part, I do have some spicy ones, and those ones I don't let the students hold,
No.
at least until they've been, desensitized. But
Yeah,
yeah. So
that's awesome. But what did the principal say? Was she willing to give it a
no,
try,
she's
or?
she's down. Yeah, no, she's
Oh,
down.
good.
Oh,
And she goes, her
Cool.
goal is to hold one by the end of the year.
yes.
So far, I've been able to sit in the room with her with a baby, which I told her at one point. I was like, babies tend to be a little more spicier than the big
Yeah.
ones. She's like, okay, okay. But she's like, they look cute.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
she's willing to.
that is too cool. Well, I'm rooting for her. She can do this. Um,
Yes.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
how have what's been the parents' response from, like, with this project?
Most of them think it's really awesome, and
Cool.
really cool. There are also some parents that are really afraid,
Mhm.
of the ball pythons, but usually it's funny is because the kids that know their parents are afraid, they're the ones that want to like drag their parents into the classroom and go, look, oh! And all of the above. Like
Of
it's
course.
so interesting to see.
Mhm.
Um, but and it's also very cool too to see that the kids are teaching their parents that
Yeah.
these aren't to be
Cool.
afraid of. And that, a ball python's not going to eat you. I mean, we've even talked about anacondas and, they're like, there's a YouTube video of an anaconda eating a person. And I was like, do you believe everything online? Are you sure? Especially just talking about the anatomy of them and all that stuff. So I'm very much a science teacher that if they ask any question, as long as it relates to science, we'll dive deeper into it. I'm all about fostering that ability to question. Like we spent a whole day talking about what would happen if you fell through the center of the earth.
Awesome.
And that was fun. Another one was like, could humans boil?
I mean,
we thought about it. Kind of. Yeah. That was when 7th grade was studying phase change. And they were wondering if a human could phase change.
Well,
under the right circumstances. Yeah. I mean, you would pop before you face change, but okay.
As anyone knows that has tried to thaw a whole rat in the microwave. Don't do it.
It's so true.
Don't do it.
No microwaving rats. No.
Doesn't work the same when all the guts and stuff are still in there.
Exactly. We don't need an impromptu anatomy lesson that way. No.
Yeah. And then it's also cool too, because I've run into a few years ago, I had a student whose parent, their stepmom bred ball pythons, which was whoa, small world.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and then this year I have a pair of students whose family just are reptile lovers, and they have a ton of reptiles. So they're the kids that I'm like, here, take the snake. I'll just walk away. You're fine. You own one at home.
Have very many of them talked about like snake discovery, some of the other like educational YouTube things? That's good.
Prince reptiles.
Good.
Yeah, snake discovery. And then I was thinking what else, other ones they've mentioned before, but that's the big one.
Of course,
that's the big one most of them watch currently.
And then I've had people tell me, oh, I've seen, eggs hatching like on, TikTok or whatever. I guess there's a few breeders that'll put those shorts up, and that seems to get pretty broad viewership.
Definitely.
So do you, what are those reactions like when they start to see those little pips coming out? And I mean, of course, like we know how it is as adults, but like with kids there, and
they're super excited. It's just like, it's super excitement. And then of course, if one's not pipping for a certain amount of days, they get really concerned.
Of course.
Right now we have a chameleon egg in here that was donated to us. And it's sitting in the back, and it was supposed to hatch in February. It's not brown, but it's not hatched yet. And they're always like running up to it and like looking, going, is it ready? Is it ready?
Of course.
I've been told that sometimes they don't hatch right away, that they can take up to like 4 months later.
What?
Yeah.
Some of those chameleon species, the time from when the eggs get laid till they hatch is like a year long.
Oh no! Don't tell me that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's like 8-9 month incubation period, stuff like that. I was like, man, I don't know. 2 months seems like forever. I don't know how you all breed animals where the eggs I had a friend that bred them. He's like, yeah, I just have a cabinet where I have eggs incubating. I just have to put them in there and just walk away and try to forget about them because it takes so long.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
So varying by a month or two. What species is it? Do you know?
It's written on the container. It's one of those Chameleon 101, the seller that sells them at the shows all the time with the hatching goop.
Gotcha.
And he gives one free one out per show. to someone lucky, and I was walking by and he started talking to me and he was like, "Here, you want one for your class?" And I was like,
Right.
kind of,
Yeah.
but kind of not. Like I'm a big fan of any animal that I own. I try to research it to like an extreme
course.
before owning it,
Mhm.
to make sure I give it the best life possible.
Same here.
Yeah. And so I was like, chameleon. Well, I've got about a month to figure it out. And then
Yeah.
Randy from Dark Cloud was like, no, you got about 4 months. And I was like, okay, cool.
Well, cool. Good
I was
trying.
like, I don't have a cage. What do I need? He goes, I'll loan you one. I'll loan you one until you get one when it hatches. And I was like, all right, all
Okay.
right, sure.
Randy's a good dude.
Yes, he is. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, very much
So
a good dude.
So are there any other species that you've branched out to do, or is it just ball pythons to keep it simple?
Ball pythons for breeding, just because once again that husbandry and making sure that it is up to par is always important in my book. I do have I have a leopard gecko, an albino leopard gecko, that I got in was it a SCAR auction? I think it was a SCAR auction, not a US ARC. And she's in a bioactive habitat, which is not common either. But yeah, she's got some succulents in her cage with some isopods, and we talk about the bioactive and how everything works in there with her. But yeah, that's it for species. I mean, I almost walked away with a big chameleon this weekend.
Oh,
or last weekend.
They're cool.
Yeah.
And I wish I had more time to dedicate to understanding the husbandry of so many different animals and to be able to balance that in a classroom and teach. I mean, the ultimate goal would be to have a classroom with all different species, and
that would be cool.
and to have my students be able to experience them. I had a jumping spider for a while.
Fun.
Yeah, and I've been looking in and considering possibly getting some kind of tarantula or another spider for the classroom, just because it's another misconception animal, an animal that people judge, including myself.
That one's a tough one because you have to be careful with kids handling them. They don't freak out. It's like no matter how much you talk to people about the tarantula and they see other people hold them, just some people it moves a weird, like they're fine holding it for a while and it moves a weird way and they just do the and you're like, no.
Yeah, I think it would end up being, if I did get one, I would probably get we've had quail in the classroom before.
Cool.
And hatched them. But I do what I did with them and basically for a tarantula, get some kind of like doggy playpen enclosure and make the kids sit crisscross applesauce in it.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Let them hold it there so then they're not dropping.
I think there's something to be said about developing an appreciation for animals that are just, look but don't touch type of animals. True. Like more delicate ones, like it's kind of harder to hold a jumping spider. Like you can, but you're not really going to be like petting your little guy.
Agreed.
And or like I don't know, like I think of like green snakes. I like that's one of my little, oh my gosh, it'd be amazing if I could have one of those little guys. But also they're teeny tiny, and especially with kids. Granted, 6th grade they do have much more motor control at that age, but even still.
You would think
they're learning.
Some of them do.
Some of them, yeah.
That would be more of a look but don't touch type of animal. But yeah, no, that's true, especially with that age group. And we were talking about this before we started recording. Like it's kind of it's middle school is a fun time, and just because they are like they've gotten through the kid stage, most of them, and now they're starting to grow like 6 inches in the summer, and now they're walking around like a baby deer. They're figuring out who they are as a person, and I've always loved that because I'm kind of an awkward person and I've leaned into it. I think it's amazing, and so I love that that age group as well. just because it's fun, it's weird, and I find that endearing.
Yeah. I've also thought of often getting the geckos that are able to reproduce on their own.
Oh, that would be cool.
The parthenogenesis. Is that right?
Yeah,
Parthenogenesis?
parthenogenesis. Yeah.
Yeah. Just so they have that also, that kind of experience. I mentioned them actually today when we were talking about ball pythons, because they were curious, are any of them going to lay anytime soon? And I was like, well, a couple of them are at this millimeter right now.
Yeah.
Hopefully. But then we talked about the parthenogenesis, the geckos that are capable of doing it on their own, and dividing cells. So, but yeah, no, back to your, I love them. I love them being weird. And I love to celebrate their weirdness and tell them that it's okay. You'll find more of your tribe. Just keep being yourself.
Exactly. And I think that's part of why I think the introducing misunderstood animals at this point is kind of nice, because we all feel like a misunderstood animal when we're 11 or 12.
Yeah.
And learning to appreciate them is something that will, I think, benefit them for their whole lives. Also for, their interactions with snakes and reptiles and wildlife in general. But just as having experienced that, I think they're going to be better for it. So I love that you do this.
Yes.
Let's see. You said that this was this little blue-eyed Lucy was a cool experience. So why don't you tell us more about that?
Yeah.
Because he hatched in your classroom, or she hatched in your classroom, right?
Yeah, she's one. He.
Oh, it was.
I wish it was a she. As it goes.
How it goes.
She as well as two other bells. Which I think I sent you a picture of. Yep, there they go. Yep. There's the three. He is on the far right there. That one. Yep, that one. Yeah. They all hatch. And then there was also two GHI. There's a super GHI Mojave and then just a GHI Mojave. All hatched from the same clutch. But it was so awesome to see these three bells hatch in the classroom, and we talked about why they potentially look different. And we used black light to try to look at them and see their patterns, and inspect them that way. Which the bigger picture, that one, it was super pixelated all over. So it had this opaque white, but then also had the solid white there too. And you can kind of see it there in the picture. It was really interesting.
So this one has a chance of being a super GHI?
Possibly, yeah.
What about leopard? What about leopard?
Yep. Leopards in there too.
Both of those super GHIs and leopards I've seen do that.
Okay,
cool.
The person that ended up buying it from me, I'm like, I always get a bummer when I'm like, I want, follow me on, I want to find you on Instagram so I can watch the babies grow up. I want to see. Of course, I want to see. The super GHI and Mojave ended up. That person sends me updated pictures, which makes me happy.
Wonderful.
Majority of the time, that's where I'm at with all my babies. Is I'm like, send me pictures. I want to see. I want to keep them all, but I can't.
I assume the super GHI Mojave was a male then, if you don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
Dang it.
A whole bunch of boys came out of that. I think it was just one female. But I did throw the pairing together again this year to see. I was like, one more time. And then this is Hermes. All my snakes have names too, unless they're hatchlings and they're moving out. Because my kids are like, let's name this one, and I'm like, you want to take it home? You can name it.
There you go.
Although I do have a bet, a term, whatever, with one of my 8th graders that if he gets straight A's, he gets to name one of the snakes in the classroom his name.
Nice.
That's good motivation. I like it.
Well, yeah. I have a couple other things going too, that if all my 8th graders in get A's in science, like straight A, like no one's below an A, they get to shave half of my head.
Awesome.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was like, they're like, you don't want to shave half your head. And I go, well, part of me does, because I think you guys could do it, but you do have to buckle down and do it.
There you
Mind
go.
you, our class sizes are small, so I only
That's
have
fair.
19 8th graders.
Okay, that's not bad at all. That's really nice.
Yeah, there's like 5 of them that it's gonna be a challenge,
Mhm.
but they can do it. They can do it.
Yeah, especially if with that, especially like with that group effort, the kind of like, come on, you can do it.
Team up. Yeah.
Peer pressure. Yeah.
So so the babies, that was Hermes, the black and white one, the Xanthic. He is an Xanthic leopard, het pied, super pastel. And other people think there's something else in him. His leopard pattern is very pixelated. You can see there on the back. And he's a TSK Xanthic. He came from Night Stalker Exotics. And I've paired him up probably a billion times this year. So
got a lot going for him.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what he lets out. But he's a cool snake. He's got 2 different colored eyes. He's got that silver with a line in it, and then on the other side, it's all black.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So the one. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask. So, like, what all genes do you have in your setup there? I know it's probably a bunch you've already named. Yeah.
A lot. So originally it makes me laugh because, you start off with 1 snake, you go, I'm just going to get 2, just going to get 3. It keeps going. And originally.
And they have babies and you're like, I'm going to keep all the babies.
Yeah.
I'm working on a snake room to the point that on my Instagram, I'm probably going to push out, what do you recommend in your snake room?
There you go.
But at home, the direction that with my actual projects, not what I'm having my students pair, is TSK Xanthic, and I have a couple different little tiny projects. So like Tri-Stripe is there with TSK Xanthic. I'm working a super secret project with Xanthic and another technically another codom. It's technically a codom with Xanthic. And if you know Randy, you might know which one. And it's not puzzle.
That's exciting.
He's got a lot of puzzle, but
he does have a lot of puzzle.
Yeah, I was so surprised the first time I went there how much puzzle stuff he had. That's really cool to see. But yeah, he's got some other fun. I've got a lot of sheds from him for other cool mutations he's working. I would bet
a huge handful of ones for what I'm working with Xanthic.
Yeah. I was gonna say if you gave me 2 or 3 guesses, I bet I could get it.
Yeah, you probably could. Hitari maybe, or that's my only guess.
Yeah. With the combo, I wanna nickname it. Like Pewter has that name and whatnot. Yeah. I'm gonna nickname it Old School. Old School. Yes. A hint of black and white plus something else.
I like it.
So this is one of the babies that I hatched out with my students.
Oh,
beautiful!
A firefly Xanthic. We've been watching him slightly change color. It's always fun to watch.
Of course,
he's got a little bit of a yellow tint. Then you had a picture of him and his mom up earlier.
Oh yeah.
But I've got all sorts of genes. No, you're good. He's right there on the pumpkin.
Buddy.
And then the picture of the 2, he's curled up with his mom. whose name
Yes.
I not accidentally, I spelled it on the board for the students today. We call her Babette in the classroom, but her name is AH space SOUL. And if you say it fast, yeah.
Oh, yes. Got it.
That's awesome.
A soul.
Yeah, a soul. She's got a soul. So yeah, and I mentioned it today, and my sixth graders were just laughing so hard. Some of them were like, "I don't get it," and the other ones were like, "Don't worry about it." And I was like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. Let it go."
I love
But
it.
yeah, I do a lot of TSK Xanthic. That's really the direction I'm interested in going.
Yeah.
And then I mean, originally with the first path I was going down was to get at least one recessive, one co-dom, and one dom, dominant trait, just so I can show those and demonstrate them to the students. So I have a really big blue-eyed Lucy, and I'm trying to figure out what else she has in her. So this season, we put her to something that doesn't have any bell complex in it. She's got a little bit of a corkscrew. So she's another one of my special girls. So every time I open the drawer, she's upside down looking at you. Going,
So is she
"Hey,
also potentially a spider then, or you don't know what
potentially, I don't know. So when I first started this journey, I didn't know about Morph Market. I knew about Craigslist. So I was going on Craigslist, OfferUp occasionally, but mainly Craigslist, and finding snakes on there. And I purchased her, which she was listed as a super butter. And I purchased her mate at the time, which I had, which was a lesser Mojave. And the person that I got her from didn't know what else she was, or didn't say.
Yeah.
Craigslist finds. So yeah. So this year I mean I bred her with the lesser Mojave, and got all bells. Because that was one of the things that we did with the kids here in the classroom. We talked about that they're both recessive and what would come out if we put them together. And so they wanted to see that. And then this year I put her with Hermes, to see what she pops out. So yeah.
Cool.
This is the I was like, I have the father of that bell that is pixelated. You're wet.
Oh, good boy.
Yeah, he's pretty dark too.
Yeah.
The GHI leopard. He come out, or are you just gonna chill and be your ball?
That's okay.
Yeah, another Craigslist. So once again, I joke, I go, my Craigslist, it's like the lottery. You never know what you're getting.
Exactly.
You kind of do, but you kind of don't. You know. So he was sold to me as a GHI leopard Mojave.
Yeah.
Pretty.
He is very pretty.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. His name's Anubis.
Anubis. That's a cool name.
So a lot of my snakes are also, they're either named after mythology characters, scientists, and or science terminology. So I have a set of 3 that I got, 2 tri-stripes, which I got to send you, Sheds.
Yes, please.
And then there we go. 2 tri-stripes and a TSK Xanthic, and they're named after Newton's laws. So one is acceleration, one is inertia, and then the other is EQ.
Awesome.
So I try to use their names as other teaching tools too. I have a Rosalind Franklin. I call her Rosalind. I've got a Newton. I've got a Friction. Yeah. So, and then all of all the Hatari I have are named after different light rays. So I've got gamma, violet, radio. So
Cool. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So is this something you would recommend other teachers doing if they thought this was an awesome idea? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a great opportunity to educate, to bring up this next generation, to appreciate animals, to appreciate people that look different, to, explore that, get them interested, to question things. I think it's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Especially because in reality, I mean, the other reason why I don't have hamsters or guinea pigs or anything like that is those tend to bite more.
Yes, they do.
Ooh, rodents tend to be very nom 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 nom.
Oh, yeah. And they go to the bathroom every 5 seconds.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, they smell too. They smell.
Yeah.
And snakes really don't.
Not really. No. Yeah.
No. So yeah, I would highly recommend it
Awesome.
in many, many ways. Especially for the older kids, but even I would recommend having one ball python in an elementary school. Getting an older one, not a baby, but an older one that is well socialized and handled. Because I think it's an excellent pet. Very, especially for the classroom, very minimal care. So if you go on breaks, I feed them before I disappear on break, and then I come back. They're good.
So if another science teacher somewhere was like, "Oh, I think I might want to get into this," would you have any like recommendations or advice that you wish you had before you started getting into this sort of thing?
Well, if you want to breed, pick a project and stick with that project.
Hard to do.
It is. And maybe pick something that is a project that's more difficult, I guess. So like people often ask me, with me being on the West Coast, why did I pick TSK over VPI? And some of the reasons, one of which is that, VPI is so readily available. I knew I would probably be buying a lot more because of the fact that I could. Versus TSK on the West Coast is not as readily available. I mean, other than online. Yep, those are all of, not all of them, but most of my TSK babies. Yeah, so that's one of the main reasons. So I, pick a project if you want to breed. If you don't want to breed, I would recommend not getting a young ball python. I would recommend getting an older one. And I always remind people, like, they live on average 35 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a commitment. And with an older one, their personality a little bit better than a baby. You can get one that is used to being held. They are probably better eaters, more consistent with that way. I'd recommend that. Make sure you have that contract to cover your butt. And anyone's, feel free to reach out to me. Anyone that is interested, I can always send you a copy of what I give my students.
Cool.
And I'm also more than happy to too. If you're a teacher and you don't have a connection, if you want a snake, just reach out to me and we'll talk.
Awesome. Where's a good somebody to reach you at?
What?
Oh,
you can reach out on Instagram. Professor's Pythons. That's probably the easiest. And I have a lot of ones that are well socialized. I mean, that's one of the benefits of having kids. I've got 85 students right now, and probably 70 of them love to hold them. So they're always being held. the other thing that I found too is take everyone's advice with a grain of salt. Because there's a lot of new research coming out. There's a lot of new information. And everyone has, their way that works for them. And to kind of be flexible with that and ebb and flow. Do your own research. Those are definitely things that I've learned along the way. And have fun. Have fun. Because if you don't enjoy it, why do it?
Exactly.
So, as someone that likes TSK Xanthic, how surprising was the black Xanthic news for you?
Oh yeah.
That was really cool. I'm still very curious genetically. There's got to be something else there causing the dark phase, like that, and I'm really curious as to what is connected to it that's causing the TSK Xanthic basically to be the blackout. And because I feel like TSK is the white version, the lighter version. And then the black Xanthic is even my TSKs that are labeled as dark mode or whatever are technically probably black Xanthic or would be considered black Xanthic. Yeah, so I think there's something else there. There's something else in play, which I know you've mentioned before, Ben.
Yeah.
There's probably another allele in there that is combining with the TSK, causing it to darken like that.
Yeah.
So
we would love to find it. That's going to be a harder project, but it's something we'll chip away.
For sure. The other thing that actually that really helped me, or has helped me, is I'm gonna push this out here. There's a Facebook group called New Ball Python Keepers.
Cool.
Yeah, and even though I'm not a new ball python keeper, they're very supportive on like any questions you have when you have problems and you're like, I don't know how to handle this with the snake. My snake's not eating, not shedding right. They're very nice. There's no dumb question. They have a lot of guides, to the point that I print out a lot of their guides on like how to set up cages and tubs and all the stuff that as we breeders get into this hobby and keepers, kind of forgot, what it was like the first time we got one and we were like, what do I do now? So I print those out and I usually hand them or give them to the students if they're contemplating getting one, as well as anyone that does purchase one from me. So joining that group, New Ball Python Keepers on Facebook.
That's awesome.
Very, very nice.
Good.
Yeah.
I was just thinking when you guys were talking about your hour lunch discussion question, I think it would be really, really fun if you guys ever had the opportunity that I would have you guys Zoom and have my students ask you guys questions.
Of course.
If you're going to do that at some point in time. They wouldn't necessarily be able to be on camera per se, but they would love to ask you questions. We have professionals. We had a forest fire fireman but video. And they're always curious. And I just have to warn you that sometimes they might try to trick you with a question that you're like, that might not be the most appropriate. Like, like they're like, how do you tell they're boys or girls? And I was like, well, there's a method that make them expose themselves. I'm not going to say the words. Well, I could say cloaca.
I actually made a scout.
I know the story.
Kayla knows this story. I had some scouts in my snake room. I helped with the Boy Scouts for a few years. But yeah, one of them kind of stood in the very back. Like there's probably 8 of them or something in my snake room. And he stayed near the back by the door the whole time. You could tell he was nervous. But yeah, they were asking that same question. And so, like I just, my dad and his dad, they all grew up on farms. Like that's stuff that, you talk about. And so, but yeah, I popped, I showed, this is a sperm plug, blah, blah, blah. And he just turned white and hit the ground. He passed out straight up.
Oh,
If I was not in Huntington Beach in a conservative area, I would be doing the same. But I
That's
was
fair.
like, I'm gonna go on the safe side. Or like, how do they make the babies? Well, they wrap tails together and then a sperm and an egg cell combine.
Perfect. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I'd be happy to come on, and I'm sure Kayla would too. But
Oh,
yeah, you
yeah.
might want to tell us, what things to for sure not talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you could just jump in and say, well, maybe let's.
I'll step in.
Yeah.
That's a great question. I'll get back to you guys on that.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, sounds
Sure.
good. Well, I've had a blast recording this, so thank you for joining us today, Jamie.
Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I was super excited, and I appreciate being asked to come on.
Of course. Well, I guess we'll call that a day. And thanks everybody for watching today. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Yeah, I know we had a blast. Let us know what you think. I know that we definitely wish that we had like a teacher like Jamie when we were in middle school. So if you guys had any similar experiences, or wish you had a teacher like Jamie in middle school or high school, like that would let us know in the comments. And yeah, I think we'll call that a day, y'all. We'll see you next week. Outro in 3, 2, 1.